I forgot that you were an English teacher, and you made the transition from teaching straight into sales. And if I'm correct, you went like straight from high school English teacher to cold calling CEOs, right?
There was a little gap, and I can fill that in, but the gap was not big. I mean, I went from English teacher to doing nonprofit work, which wasn't a lot different in some ways. And then I bartended and was a writer. And then I went to business school and then got into cold calling. But the funny thing was, you come out, you went to business school at SMU, right? And you come out and you're like, I got the ABA. I've learned a lot. I busted my ass. I sat in a windowless room in cold calling for $15 an hour, right? I've got this fancy degree. That's what I did. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, English teaching was so much more intellectually stimulating than that.
Do you remember your first week? So you go from English teacher to MBA and your first week of cold calling. What's that like?
This would be fun to compare notes because I know you built a sales org for the chamber, but I remember he kind of spent 30 minutes with me, an hour, kind of saying, hey, here's how we do things. This is the call. I remember he had a book. It was a book of lists, and it was like this big, and he kind of threw it down. And he's like, all right, just only call on presidents and CEOs. I don't want to talk to anybody else. And he said, here's what you need to do. And I literally just stared at that phone and I looked at that list and I just started calling. I hated it. And so anytime I had anything good happen, I wanted to run down the hall and talk to somebody about it. Not so much to get a mad boy, but just to kind of, can you correct me? Can you steer me? But I thought, what the hell am I doing? I was too dumb to quit though. So I just kept doing it. I'm curious, like you led the team at the chamber. So did you start making calls there or how did that work for you?
I started in cold calling and I got the job because I moved to Dallas and my goal was to get into politics. So I can't remember how old I was, 2022, something like that.
By the way, the photos of you from back then, completely different.
Oh, it's funny. And there's like different versions. There's like Fat Ray and then there's Skinny Ray. And there's like, I went through some phases at the chamber and I started at the chamber. I saw their ad and it was like something like free enterprise, defend American business, this and that. I'm like, this is my crew. Cause I've got a political blog at the time. I'm trying to like make a name for myself. And I said, I'm going to get into politics, but I don't have a law degree. In fact, I don't even have a real degree. And I don't have, family in politics. So I'll go in through sales. And so I said, I'll plug my nose and do this stupid sales thing. But my goal was to be a lobbyist. Like from day one, I said, I'm just going to do this. So I started volunteering. I'm like, by day, I'll do the cold calling. And by night, I'll start volunteering for the lobbyist and stuffing envelopes and doing all this other shit. I was not good at cold calling, but I had I had somebody come to me and say, hey, this is what I do. And Charles was his name. And he just stayed there my whole career. And I don't know what made this guy so generous, but he came over and said, basically, I'm going to save you. And said, this is how we do it. This is my script. You can sit with me. And I just started copying all the shit that he did. And I managed to get by because I didn't have a lot of real sales experience. And I didn't like it. The thing that saved me looking back was I was at least calling on something that I loved, at least at the time. Like I've since lost some of the passion for politics. But when I got a hold of somebody, then we were talking about something that I was fired up about, which meant I went off script, but it didn't matter because I was so fired up and passionate about the thing that's how I sold was through that. And eventually I managed to work my way into management and then eventually like executive management there. Dude, I was so shy and introverted. I picked the cubicle furthest in the corner so nobody could hear me. And I would like lean down and like talk really low, like so people like it was, I didn't want
like
to be
a late
doing
night
it,
DJ.
Yeah. And but I made good money doing it. And eventually like I figured it out and it was something that I love. And eventually 15 years later, I really couldn't stand politics and I loved sales. So I started for the politics and I hated sales and then I left. Yeah, it's weird. It's wild. But sales is a life skill, man. Like it's like it's a life skill everywhere,
So I'm reading the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. Did I say his name right? Do you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Learn to build things and learn to sell. And I think about my own kids and I'm thinking, just go, like, if you can learn to sell and you can create something that you're good at, you're set, right? Even in the age of AI. Now, I don't know how well this statement will age, but that would be my belief, because you still have to be able to sell. So I'm curious, how did you go from the chamber to SMU?
I had been at the chamber for 15 years. I'd worked my way up as managing director of basically all of small mid-sized business nationally. The conversation I had with the COO at the time, who was a mentor of mine, she said, "Hey, like, your next move is here. Like, that's like, there's no, you can't go further up in the organization. You're already in executive management. The next move is here." And here I am. I'm running the national sales from Dallas, but our office has ping pong tables and free Red Bull, and we're in shorts and flip flops, and we're crushing the numbers, but it's this very informal startup-y environment. And I wanted nothing to do with ties. I wanted nothing to do at this point with real politics.
Makes so much sense why you're in Mexico now.
Dress code, man. I was like, fuck that. I don't want to do that. And so I talked to the COO and I said, "I don't think I want to do that." And she said, "Well, we don't think we want you to leave, but why don't we do this? Like, effectively get your MBA here. We'll help you out with some of this. You run the business, continue to run the business for a couple of years, and then we'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens." So, it was almost like a mutual arrangement. And at the end of that, SMU has a good like finance network. And I started networking with some private equity people and decided while I was getting my MBA, I wanted to do something in private equity, and that's the direction that I went to. And somehow that landed me in Mexico.